life, your standards are fucking everything. And they dictate how you're gonna act. They dictate the results that you're gonna get in anything that you do. And your standards are the most important thing when it comes to performance, especially in business and especially with like finances. Now, I can't stress how important this is, guys. I can't stress how important it is to continually raise the standard for yourself. And I'll give you an example. A lot of my friends are, business owners. A good amount of them too are younger than me. They're, in their earlier 20s, and I'm 30. And with that being said, I have, a lot of my business, owner friends are making six figures plus a month. And, I myself, my business does six figures plus a month, which is a blessing, of course, but it's only because of the standard that I have set for myself and within my network, my, friend group, what have you. And I'm telling you guys, this has been the biggest advantage. A lot of people will tell you that it's like, you shoot for the stars, you just keep striving, strive, and eventually you'll get there. And this is just not the case. This has never been the case. It's always been about the standard that you hold for yourself, And I think a lot of times in this day and age, we get confused because we think that standard means like, oh, I hold myself to a high standard, so I am, doing all this bullshit before I start the first task of my business in the morning, or I'm trying to optimize, my fucking, funnel or whatever have you. And like, I think it's easy to get distracted by little things in your business and like optimizing your morning routine and like networking and all this bullshit, because that's second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth through 10th compared to just setting a high standard for yourself. I really, I like to dwell in this concept of dominoes, life being a game of dominoes, in the way where when you knock the first, setting up dominoes like in a row where you're gonna knock these dominoes down, and being able to knock the first domino down, the most important domino, so that there's like a positive ripple effect on the other aspects of your life. And I've always been fascinated with this concept because throughout my life, throughout my business journey, and like I have people like, even like, honestly, some of my friends, and they know this to be true, where they've been in business longer than me and I make more money than them. And there's also people that have been in business shorter than me that make more money than me, right? So I think that's a huge kind of like revealing factor to the standard that you set for yourself, really is. And I think a lot of times, like I said, we get caught up in the things that aren't important. And I've always been fascinated with this concept of just setting a higher standard for yourself, Now, I like to use the example of bodybuilding. When you're a bodybuilder and you love the gym, you set a high standard for yourself, because if you don't set a high standard for yourself, you're not going to get the results that you want. Like if you don't have a standard for the intensity that you train to, right? Where it's like, no matter what, I always train to like, I have nothing left in the tank, where I can barely squeeze out 2-3 more reps. That would be a standard. Or, no matter what happens, I never leave the house without my meals. I never leave the house without a plan for what my next meal is going to be. I always am in bed at a certain time, and I'm always making sure I get a certain amount of rest, right? This is how you're able to even have a good physique to begin with. I know this because I've been through it, Like, it's like when someone compliments you and says, oh, you have a great physique, you're jacked. And you're like, oh, well, I appreciate it, right? And it's not that you don't take the compliment, but coming from like an average person, their standard is lower. So the compliment doesn't really mean as much. It's not like you appreciate it, but to you, your standard is like, okay, let's say, you want to look like Chris Bumstead or Mr. Olympia, and you're in really, really good shape, right? And someone says that you look awesome, man, you're really muscular. It's like, well, my standard is I want to have an Olympian level physique. So technically, if you hold yourself to a high standard, that's going to allow you to perform at a higher level, right? Everyone always talks about, work harder and I can put more hours in and blah, 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 blah. And it's really not about that, because I always look at that as like a strain, Now, not everything in business is going to be fucking rainbows and butterflies and fucking butter, smooth. But I don't believe that, a lot of these things should be a strain. It should be more of an understanding of, again, yourself and what you really want to accomplish, and being able to work intelligently. And I would say that's the biggest thing this year, and really especially this past 6 months, is the standard that I have had for myself has had to be higher because I've grown my entire team, my business, my company, the people that work for me and with me. At the time of this video, we have about 7 people on the team right now. And I knew before I had my team, before I, again, had the standard of leadership and extreme leadership, right? My business was at a standstill. It was. I'm open about this. I, had not been able to break 6 figures a month, 100K plus a month without my team. I couldn't do it. I tried many times, stubbornly, right? But I didn't have the proper standard in leadership, right? So that affected my business growth. When I decided to say, okay, well, my standard is everything that I'm going to do now, I'm going to do it in a way that is preparing myself to teach another person how to do it, right? So again, my standard increases. I'm like, okay, well, if it's not just me doing the job and I'm going to have to teach another person, think about how the standard has to increase. Not only do I have to do a really good job, I have to be really good at explaining it, but I also have to hold the standard every single day. I tell my clients this all the time. There's no reason why I, at my level, 6 figures a month, being in this business for 4 years, really should be hungrier than a person who's like on the edge of losing it all, or just wants to grow and is really motivated and really inspired and really, ready to get the fuck after it. There's no reason why I should be posting more than that person, and I should be doing more than that person, and I should have a standard of productivity that is really more than that person, right? Now, obviously, like in business and growing a business, there's a high standard of productivity, but not in the same way. Do you understand what I'm saying? Because if you manage people, you're always having to set the example. You are the standard, right? And you can look at it as this in the simplest way, setting the example. It's like, what's the example that you're setting? That's the standard that you set for yourself and for everyone around you. So, I really want you guys to think about that, especially in this, this last week of the month and this last quarter, this last, month of the year in December. Like, what's the standard that you're setting for yourself? Like, guys, I see this all the time. You ever, like, when someone's complaining to you about something and you've been through the same thing that they've been through, and everything they're saying, you're like, yep, all right? And you're kind of, right, older guys kind of know what I'm talking about, right? You're kind of seeing them kind of figure it out in their head. You're like, yeah, you're gonna do that, you're gonna do that. And the way I look at it is, you're older, right? You're more experienced, so the standard that you hold yourself is usually, hopefully, higher, right? And you're more successful. And I always think about that too. I people complain to me all the time about how their business isn't growing and how they have no leads and they can't sign clients and whatever have you. And Is it strategy? Yeah. Yeah. I mean, guys, I'm a business coach. You guys fucking, I don't even sell I only make YouTube videos because I love talking to you guys. I'm gonna be honest with you. You guys can follow me on Instagram if you want, but I don't even sell this on I don't sell this on YouTube. It's just, I'm a coach and I talk about it in my YouTube videos. But the reason I'm saying this is because, I talk to people all the time and I'm like, this problem that you're dealing with, understandably, because I've been where they have been in their business, can be completely just obliterated if you just held yourself to a higher standard, right? It's like all the problems that you would deal with are in a direct correlation to you not holding yourself to that level and setting that example for yourself. Everything else, and again, strategy, like I was saying before, my ADHD, I can't fucking focus. Strategy is important. I teach strategy. It's so important. You have to know what the fuck you're doing, of course, but you have to hold yourself to a high standard with everything that you do. Again, I always think about that, right? The person who has the most money in your friend group and has the best physique, he sets the standard, right? I know that in my friend group, I have a group chat, good group of guys from my area in Pennsylvania. I set the standard for that group because I make the most money and I'm in the best shape. And arguably, my friend Nick, my good friend Nick, and was my first client, he's arguably he's in better shape than me. He's more ripped than me, So he actually sets the standard for physique. And again, actually, now that come to think of it, see, again, always being humbled by people that held themselves to a high standard. My friend Christian, he does like 200 a month, and he gets connected with like high level, private equity guys, and he sets the standard for finances, right? But I'm gonna get you, Christian, and you too, Nick. You better watch out, both you motherfuckers better watch out. I'm gonna make more money than you, Christian, and I'm gonna get more ripped than you, Nick. Nick was my old client. Anyway, we won't go there. But we always talk about this, right? And this is a thing that I'm open about, and it's only because of those people holding themselves to a high standard that I can hold myself to a high standard. In life, guys, your fucking standards are everything. Hold yourself to a high standard and you can cut out all the little extra bullshit that doesn't matter. No victim.